Hi, welcome to my channel, Reader Woman. My name's Judy, and let's talk book tags. In particular, I got tagged by Samuel Derham on his original YouTube or BookTube tag, your favorite 10 album covers tag. Now he was talking about the album covers. And I mean, in particular, one of the first questions he asks is, when you were 13, how did you listen to music? When I was 13, it was all record players for the most part. There were cassette tapes, but that isn't how I listened to music. When I was quite small, as a kid, I had a portable record player. I still had to plug it in, but I could move it around. And it was, I think it was pink and white check or something like that. And what it really reminded me of was my first album. And so I know that the covers are important, but for me, I'm also going to talk about the 10 albums that mean the most to me personally. And probably I'd say the albums that have meant the most to me listening to them throughout my lifetime. So the first album I ever received was the Beatles. Meet the Beatles. It was, I think it was the 1964, it came out in 1964, and it was probably the only time in my life, in my music listening life, that I was the cool kid on the block. My aunt and uncle had given it to me. My Uncle Richard and Aunt Yvonne had given me this album, and I played it. I Want to Hold Your Hand, the whole beginning Beatles songs. And I can remember loving it so much. And I would plug it in to, so I could be on the front porch, and me and my friends, we would disco dance or whatever, we would be dancing on the porch and to the music. So yeah, that album meant a lot to me as a kid. Probably the next album that had the greatest impact on me was Creedence Clearwater Revival. Willie and the Poor Boys. That particular album was the first time we listened to it as a family. And it wasn't my album, it was my brother's album. And my mom and my dad would listen to it. My mother in particular let us know that there was a song about cotton. And she's like, oh my gosh, I know that song. That's an old song. It was the first time I understood that bands played music that came from, that they didn't write. Up until then, I just assumed that everything that they were performing, they'd written. And it was fascinating. And Willie and the Poor Boys, anytime it starts playing, I have to dance. And I do love the cover on that. Oh, and let me go back to the Beatles. That is a very dramatic cover. It just has the four faces, each one of them individual. It's kind of, segregating poor Ringo to the bottom by himself, because you have Paul and you have George, and then, no, I'm sorry, you had John, George, Paul, and then Ringo underneath. So, very dramatic. Creedence Clearwater Revival, it just looked like a down-home band playing on a street corner. And they had such a southern sound to them. It was shocking to me later in life to realize that they were just a Northern California band. Really odd. Number 3, and this was the big album for me in my late teens. I think I was around 16, and my brother and I went together to buy this album, and that was Queen, Night at the Opera. Totally amazing album. And you know, so far we're all talking record albums, because I want to let you know when that changes. Yes, it has Bohemian Rhapsody. Yes, it has some great music, but it was the diversity of the music that I loved about that album. I'm in Love with My Car. Just these wonderful songs that were different. You know, you had everything from the rock epics to jazzy, light, and humorous. So, yeah, I loved that album. I loved that album for a very, very long time. And I loved Queen. From there, in college, I discovered Jethro Tull. And I will say my favorite album was Aqualung. But I also loved Heavy Horses. I think Songs in the Woods. I really got into Jethro Tull in my late teens. Then a friend sent me an album that kind of rocked my musical world. And that was Elvis Costello's My Aim is True. I love the graphicness of it, and I also love the music on it. That one she sent me was a 8-track. An 8-track. Now you have to also understand, I mean, I'm not holding up any albums because I just don't have them anymore. I'm hoping that I will be computer savvy enough to add them somewhere, but we'll see. But yes, Elvis Costello's My Aim is True, Watching the Detectives, those songs I absolutely loved. It was my first introduction to kind of punk rock, and I liked it. Then I would say the next album, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, would be The Wall. By Pink Floyd. That we go back to an album, and it came with 2. I played that over and over and over again. It came out shortly after my mother died, and it was so angsty and full of pain that it helped me survive my grief. And that particular album, let's face it, that album cover with the lightly drawn brick wall in white with these fine black lines, and then the wall Pink Floyd in red that almost looked written in blood type thing, is a pretty epic cover. I would then say, oddly enough, Talking Heads, Little Creatures. I really, really loved this album. I love, I love the cover. I think the cover is particularly with the naive type artwork, vivid colors. It just matches the songs. And, you know, and she was. Is there anything more classic? And she was. Let's see here. Stay Up Late. Yeah, and then probably my favorite is Road to Nowhere. In fact, on YouTube, I saw where a few years ago, he had put a band together and was performing around the U.S. And anyways, definitely a big album for me. And I have and was and still am a Talking Heads fan. And the other one, and I'm not quite doing this in order, but number 8 would be Robert Cray, Sweet Persuasion. The cover is amazing. He's standing by himself, I believe, in this suit. Sweet Persuader. And it was the first time I really listened to what I would consider blues. And I also had the opportunity of seeing him perform twice live. The first one was in a theater setting, and he was amazing in this gold shirt. And he has this amazing ability to both play the guitar and sing in this amazing voice. It was such a phenomenal experience until I had my second one. And that one was on a perfect summer evening by the bay, watching the sun go down and listening to the most amazing music. It was just magical. It really was. So yeah, Robert Cray definitely changed my life, my listening life, and my favorite was probably the first, Sweet Persuader. Then Patti Smith, Dream of Life. Having read her book, Just Kids and M Train, I have a copy of her poetry, her lyrics. This particular one was amazing. And the other thing you have to understand is probably the most famous photographer of the modern era. I mean, modern, is Robert Mapplethorpe. And he is the one who took her album cover photos. So you don't get much higher art than this. And when it comes to the music, she thrills me. She still continues to thrill me. I think that, and that's the last two albums that I have here. The words and music are amazing. And she wrote, let's see here, Paths That Cross, which is my favorite song ever. Let's see here, Speak to Me, speak to my heart. I feel a needing to bridge the clouds. Softly go, a way I wish to know, a way I wish to know. Oh, you ride, surely dance in a ring backwards and forwards. Those who seek feel the glow, a glow we all will know, a glow we all will know. On that day filled with grace and the heart's communion, steps we take, steps we trace into the light of reunion. Paths the cross will cross again, paths the cross will cross again. It gives me hope. The people I've lost, I will see again. And she sings it so beautifully. She is a voice of our time. She's now in her 70s. She's still out there writing books, rocking out stadiums. And I missed an opportunity to get to see her perform and speak in Seattle. I just didn't get it would be an ordeal for me, and I didn't do it. But no, I think she is a national treasure that is not admired nearly enough. And this album is the one I bought. I listened to it over and over and over and over and over again. And then I read Just Kids. And I went back to the album. And I'm just filled with Patti Smith. I think she is truly an amazing artist in all senses of the word. My number one album is Tom Petty's Wildflowers. His music also speaks to my heart, my soul. It gives me sustenance. I love his music. I hope that, let's see here, which one? No, I don't. It's not on this particular album, but some of his music is what I would like to have played at my memorial, which I'm going to someday put together ahead of time. But between the cover is very simplistic, and it in no way evokes Wildflowers in many senses, but I think it does give a sense of the depth and timelessness. It still looks pretty good considering it was published in 1994. I love Wake Up Time. I love Wildflowers, of course. It's Good to Be King, another great song. Only a Broken Heart. Yeah, Crawling Back to You. These are songs that I listen to that are still very much a part of my life. And anyways, I know I didn't quite do this exactly how Samuel Derham did it, but these are the albums that have stitched together my life, that I have listened to in times of trouble, and that still give me a lot of joy and solace. So anyways, I hope you take on this tag and do it yourself. It's awfully fun to look back and to kind of contemplate what you listen to when. Anyways, thank you, Sam. And I hope everyone is having a great evening. We'll talk again soon. Bye.